Pledge. Pray with me, please. Dear Lord, just thank you for the many blessings you've given us. Thank you for being here tonight. Be with the council tonight as we go about doing the business of the town. Give us the wisdom and courage to do what you feel is best for our town. Be with our audience tonight and Chief Franks as he gives his presentation tonight. We just thank you for the men and women who serve our town and protect us. And everything we do and say, we give you all the praise and glory. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, first up is our public comments. If you want to speak on any topic, we have one signed up. Now is the time to do it. So, so if you want to, let me know. But first up, sign is Jan Ringling. Am I pronouncing that right, Jan? All right. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me. And, I think you're used to probably dealing with Pastor Goodson, and he's out. And I've presented a couple of things to the council and the mayor and councilwomen about the alternate option for the interim use of the 2725 Old Monroe building. And I think that we presented a couple of concepts to you to create the foot traffic that you wanted in the short term and to solve a problem. And I know that we're competing right now with potential brewery option. So I just wanted to be here to answer any kind of questions that you had, and I did present something to each of you in an email, hopefully.
Yeah, we got it. And David came Saturday and
Yeah, I know, he told me.
and before his trip to Africa, so I appreciate him doing that and gave us hard copies of everything.
Yeah, I brought another one just in case you guys didn't get any.
Well, Taylor Ray might not, she wasn't there, so she might.
Did you not get one?
I did not.
Okay, let me give you one. And this doesn't have the pro forma or anything in this one. This just shows the concept of creating some foot traffic with a coffee shop in the daytime and the lunch traffic and some of the evenings, and then being able to also have like park activities and community events, like, you know, theater productions for the church or local production companies doing something at night, and having the string of lights, having walking trails, picnic tables, music and fun for the weekends and evenings. So I think it kind of it solves the problem of concern about the foot traffic and being an attractive feature that would bring people and community together at the site.
Well, in your email, the pro forma's in that.
It
And you
is.
sent it to everybody.
I'll resend it to Taylor Ray. I thought that I did, but
Yeah,
I'll resend
everybody.
it.
It's just the hard copy she didn't get because she wasn't here Saturday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, well, anybody have any questions for Jan?
I have talked with Jan a little bit today through email and has answered some of the questions. I think one thing that came up was about, limited lifespan of this. I mean, as far as when we talked, kind of more of a, 5 to 10 year type plan until sewer's available. So,
Right.
and I think I told you several concerns I think was brought up over the course of just conversation. So I can share those emails and the answers.
Yeah, and I think one of the concerns has been that short-term you don't want to kick a church out in after the lease, and you have a vision of a higher density area, which would mean you'd probably raise the building that's existing there now. So the only thing I would answer to that is, we have if we can get a 10-year lease, our tenants are able to go ahead and do the work that's needed to get in the building and to maintain it for 10 years, and they wouldn't feel like they'd be at a loss. So I think they'd rather be in there for that lease period than to be, and not be concerned about leaving at the end of 10 years, because it would give them time to grow or build their own building somewhere. And they're already in Stallings, and they've got a lot of support here from people.
All righty.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
I just wanted to make my way over and see you all again, and to make that last little bit of, that last comment for you all.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you, Jan.
thank you.
Anybody else want to speak? All righty, we'll go to our special presentation by the Chief of Police. So, Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
Mayor and council, before I get started, I have Corporal Helms and Officer Dennis step forward. So our awards committee is always evaluating conduct of the police officers. When members of our department submit nominations to the awards committee will vote, review the reports, review the memos, and then they will make a determination whether an award is appropriate or if it's a different award. For this incident, our awards committee unanimously approved a life-saving award. And as you've seen me come up here before, I said the department, we believe in recognizing our officers and we believe in recognizing them publicly, so everyone can know, not being braggadocious, but doing what our officers are out there doing every day while they're working. So real quick, I'm just gonna go over this. On February 3rd, Corporal Helms and Officer Dennis responded to the community park neighborhood in reference to a suicidal subject. While en route, dispatch said that the subject that had called, the subject in question was crying over the phone. When Helms and Dennis got there, they met him this male outside, and he was standing in a lawn chair with a wire cord wrapped around his neck and the other end wrapped around a tree limb. Both Helms and Dennis tried to talk him down and to get him to unwrap that cord. But during that conversation, the subject kicked the chair out. His body weight dropped, it was hanging from that cord. Both officers were able, one was able to grab him and one was able to get up there and get the cord off around the tree. That subject was quickly transported to Stallings Hospital, and it's because of Helms and Dennis's quick actions, the efforts resulted in the saving of this life. So with that, we're gonna recognize them with a life-saving award. And I just dropped the commendation bar. So both officers will get a life-saving commendation bar to wear on their uniform, and they will get a fancy certificate that we do here in-house. Josh, there's yours. Tyler, there's yours. Again, we're just extremely proud of all the officers, particularly tonight. We're very proud of Corporal Helms and Officer Dennis for the actions that they took on February 3rd to save that person's life. So that's it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
No, thank you, guys.
Yeah, we just had our planning conference Saturday, and the topic of how much we appreciate our police officers came up. So thank you for everything they do to protect us and keep us safe. Thank you, Chief.
I think what he was saying is that we were glad that we weren't in need of you guys keeping the peace between us.
All righty, we'll get our agenda approval. The only thing is Mr. Roy here? So he's not here, so we do want to move up number 5 to make it 1A. So these gentlemen are here, and I don't want to keep them any longer than they have to. So any other amendments?
Is there a possibility or even a likelihood that we might want to go into a closed session to hear more details about what the brokers are?
No, Alex and Aaron,
Not today.
not today.
Hopefully at the next meeting.
All right, we're
Okay,
good.
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Can I get a motion?
Moving that up to.
Moving 5 to 1A and just everything else.
I move that we approve the agenda with the one change of moving 5 to 1A.
All right. All right, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All righty. Well, you guys are up. That was quick.
Council members for seeing us today. We just want to give you a quick update on everything that's going on with what we found out about the sewer capacity, water capacity, and the like. So we're out there, say we, Scott, who's not here with us today, was on his hands and knees digging out at the water meter. I think he said about a foot down to find out that we don't have a 3/4 inch line for water capacity, but we have a 1 inch line or larger. So I'll start out with good news.
That's good news.
That is good news. On the other side, for the sewer, we have reached out to Union County, and they have told us that they no longer have the willingness to serve paperwork for us to find out if we can, in fact, do what we intend to do at this particular location. On the plus side, this is not a new building, it's existing, so there already is existing capacity. And we believe that we could meet the criteria in order to have a good user there that would fit what the town would like to see. So that is yet to be determined. There's some work that has to be done for that. They've given us an outline of what that is. We have to present a proposal that would outline that, so you would have to pretty much work through an architect and an engineer. You'd be spending real money on a tenant's budget without the potential of getting reimbursed to find out if there's a possibility. So that's a classic case of chicken before the egg. How much money do I want to spend? Would it cost us $10,000 to get a yes or a no? And what is that? So we're trying to find the best way to determine capacity without having to spend that much money on the tenants, out of their pocket that they will not get reimbursed for. Nor do we want the town to pay for that, and it turns out to be a no either. So it is a quagmire that we are working through, and hopefully with the contacts that we have, both at Union County and with architects and engineers, we can get to a number without having to spend that much money. But that is the process that we're working through right now. So that is where that is. There's not a lack of potential users there. There's a multiple group of folks who, from multiple different backgrounds, businesses and civic organizations, or that want to be civic organizations that want to serve the community, that want to be there. So we can provide you a detailed list of those, but we have multiple different options. We're trying to go with the one that we think would serve the town best and what we think that we've been tasked to provide for you. So with that said, I'll let Scott speak for a moment, and I'll take any questions that you might have.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as I've kind of relayed to Alex and Aaron, that in real estate we kind of go through a process, trying to weed through all these folks and your desired use of what you would like to potentially see there. And we've come across a couple, and one that we've I guess feel comfortable with. They feel comfortable with. They like the location. I guess we'll just have to see how the numbers work out. So the process will be we'll get an LOI hopefully within the next week, hopefully 2 weeks at minimum. Then we'll work through that process with you guys on numbers, how it would work financially for you guys to potentially make it work for the community. They love the site. They love the size of the site. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with kind of what's going on with breweries right now. They're failing as we speak. And the reason they're failing is because if you're only going to serve beer, chances are likely that you're probably not going to make it, probably in the next 2 or 3 years. If you're just a brewery with a tap house and that sort of thing. Luckily, one of the groups that we're working with, they have distribution, which means they go to Harris Teeter, so they've got the distribution in place, which helps them. So this is more of a location for them to market themselves, bring the community together with events, activities. They'll have live music, food trucks, and the sorts for you guys, to offer the community. So it will be 7 days a week. They might be closed one day. I'll have to check that schedule, but it would offer a gathering place for everybody to come and assorted things for them to do. And the group that we're in talks with understand that they cannot make it just with, serving beer or food. They know they can't do that. They have to have a draw to bring people in, because that's how you make it. The more people you have come through your door, the better opportunities you have. So we're working through that process. They have the formatted document, LOI, in their hands. They're working through it. They're supposed to get back with me, and once they do, then I guess we will come to you guys, maybe go into a closed session and discuss a little more details of exactly the financial aspects of this and how it could work. And then get your feedback, and you guys work through it and see if there's even a possibility for it to work. The huge thing about it that we talked about with this group is that we thought that we were going to have a larger water line. Luckily, we have a 1-inch water line, which may suffice for what we have to do. If it's not they can look to do alternatives as far as having water tanks on site to help with water storage. And if you guys know anything about the use, they consume more than they actually distribute back into to the sewer system, which I think is some of the questions you guys had earlier. So hopefully that in itself will help facilitate this process instead of having, so we may not have to go through the whole process of putting in a plan, getting it approved. Now, if he's going to change the building, yes, we'll normally have to go through that anyway, but going through and getting sewer capacity, that may be something that we may not have to go through. So we're going to work through this. The engineers are going to get involved. The architects are going to get involved. And if it's something that we can go with the one inch water line, it's going to save a lot of headaches across the board for everybody. Not to say we couldn't apply for it at a later date if needed, but we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. So that's kind of where we are in the process. Feel free to ask us questions because Aaron shared the last session that you guys had, and I know you guys had a bunch of questions, and hopefully we can, I'm not sure if we'll be able to answer all of them. Our expert actually isn't here.
Our developer's not here.
Yeah, our expert's not, and the guy who was digging around in the soil today to find out what size water line you guys had on the property was unavailable tonight, so.
Well, one of the questions I asked Alex and Aaron at Saturday's planning session was, I believe y'all got a copy of Hope Baptist Church's presentation. I'd like to get y'all's feedback on it. I know you probably hadn't had it that long.
We got it Friday late.
Friday, we got
I
it
got it.
Friday, so.
Yeah, I got it Friday.
Certainly like to get y'all's feedback on that,
Right.
that presentation.
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Glad to do that.
Any questions for him? All right,
All right, I was ready for 20 questions.
I was
We'll do it-
ready.
We'll do it next time.
all right, thank y'all for coming out.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, next up is our rezoning, Z 23.12.01. I'll open the public hearing and turn it over to Max.
Hey, Council.
Oh,
Mayor, before we start, I would like to request council recuse me from this vote. I might have a possible conflict of interest.
all right, can I get a motion?
Make a
No.
motion to
Well,
recuse.
before you do that, when we went to training, unless you're getting a very specific financial, you can state that you have business with them, but you don't necessarily have to recuse yourself unless you're getting a direct monetary compensation from this particular deal.
Does that include his wife?
So
She's not. I would prefer to be recused just from an optic standpoint for the future, if I'm allowed to.
But, I mean, there's a chance it could financially impact you.
Minuscule, but yeah.
it was just, one of the things they kind of said during that time period was just that you actually couldn't recuse yourself unless it had a direct financial impact to you, because you're
I'm happy
required,
to participate.
yeah, you're required to participate. So I'm asking more from a question, not this particular instance.
You had to pay attention to that session, huh?
I tried to pay attention the whole time.
Oh, okay.
She can say, I tried to challenge even the folks that were doing the presentation. Because sometimes they made a very simple case. It's like, that's not really true. So I'm just curious what your thoughts
So
are.
I talked with Councilman Richardson earlier today. He shared with me some of the details. I shared those with Ms. Cox. And
I think the potential for the financial impact just, I mean, it doesn't, if he gets one and it's too late, right, then everything's,
Okay,
it's-
I mean, I was just curious.
but because it could financially impact him, I think that's close enough.
Okay,
It might not, the way Alex explained it to me. If you're positive that no matter what happens with the vote, it will have zero financial impact.
I can't imagine a scenario. This is not a secret, by the way.
no, it's not.
Yeah,
I'm more
so-
from a
Yep.
understanding and logistics of
Right.
it.
I think you're saying also that I have a responsibility to vote
Mm-hmm.
unless I have a direct. So I don't know. I'm happy to not be recused. And just for those two people who listen to these meetings, by the way, it sounds cryptic, but my wife is a contract employee for the Moser Group, the applicant, and I also manage the Moser Group's business retirement plan. None of this will likely affect my income, probably not my wife's either.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be recused or not, so
But I agree with Melanie, it's rather safe than sorry, rather than cover yourself, rather than having to go back and then it might be, we have to do it all over again or litigate it or something.
Right, if there's a challenge later on.
So, I
Okay.
think, so,
But I was just kind of more for education.
yeah, it's good
'cause-
educational point, you're
But
right.
if either of you get a bonus, right, it could be from that company. If, I don't know how the pay structure's set up,
Yeah,
but,
let's just-
but we don't want the
nor do I,
perception to be that your bonus is
We can
because
say
you voted in a
CYA
certain way.
CYA ourselves here.
Yeah, I think the perception makes me comfortable to be recused, if I may.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Stephen.
I'll make the motion then to
Thank you, Steve.
to recuse Brad.
All right. Motion-
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it to recuse Brad Richardson from rezoning RZ 23.12.01. All right, turn it over to you, Max.
All right, hey, council, so, like, the mayor said, it's RZ 23-1201. This is a general rezoning from C-74 commercial to industrial. And it's the Moser Group who is, the applicant, and they want to rezone 100 Sharon Lane. Currently, it's C-74, and it's 3.55 acres. The existing use is manufacturing. There's a future land use of suburban multi-family, Actually, I think the future land use is incorrect. That it does not have a future land use. It's NCDOT right-of-way. I apologize about the typo on the memo. But the small area plan does show this in the Monroe Expressway small area plan as industrial. Here are some differences in industrial and C-74. As you can see, industrial is industrial, like manufacturing, production. C-74 is commercial, like retail, grocery stores, restaurants, and things like that. That's what it currently is zoned. They're not building anything currently right now. This is what the site looks like. They're using it for outdoor storage for these orange cables. I can't remember.
Fiber optic.
Yep, fiber optic. I was like, I can't remember exactly what they are
A
right
lot
this
of them
second.
in Shannon are right now.
Oh, yeah. Here's an aerial of the property as well. As you can see, the zoning is this light pink, which is C-74. How to get through to this business, you go through in Union West Business Park, which is zoned industrial. So the industrial zoning does match the surrounding properties. The future land use is NCDOT right-of-way. I think when we adopted the future land use plan, comprehensive land use plan, the expressway was still beginning of construction, so we didn't know what that was gonna turn out like, so that's why the future land use designation is there. It does match the small area plan, it's consistent with the small area plan. And council has been looking at Union West Business Park, and so has staff, and we think that just promoting industrial and making that industrial park actually industrial makes sense. So we do, as staff, recommend approval of RZ 23-1201. Do you have any questions?
So tell me about, they're required to put a fence up?
So our ordinance requires anything with outdoor storage, is required to put a fence and buffering, so like 5 foot of bushes, so a type D buffer around the fence.
And what, is it the property line that's nearest the expressway, or is it all around the whole property?
It could be on the property line, it would just be around the outdoor storage.
Oh, where they're outdoor storing,
Correct.
which is closest to the bypass?
Mhm.
Okay. And the fence, do we describe on what type of fence it has to be?
It does say that in the ordinance in Article 2, and I would say like an 8-foot opaque fence.
Okay, good, thank you. Stephen?
Just play devil's advocate here. If you drive by there, an 8-foot fence, you're coming through on the bypass.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna be, I mean, it's,
Well, hopefully the plantings will, in 20 years will cover it all.
okay. I
They're
mean,
just required to put bushes, not really trees or anything. So you would probably always be able to see that
Yeah, I
building
mean,
from the bypass unless it was redeveloped.
unless it's 30 feet tall, you're gonna be able to see it from the from the thing, so.
But the ordinance requires it for outdoor storage.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. I'm just, like I said, I'm being devil's advocate because they're just, from the where you can see it from, an 8-foot fence really isn't gonna ever block it, but.
Well, it will if you store the material right up against the fence.
Yeah, but the road is so high that you can look down into it.
Well, if you got an 8-foot fence and I got a roll of coil right up against it, you won't be able to see that roll.
It's just.
That
the
one,
West
that one, yes.
They'll have something, so being a devil's advocate there.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Max?
I do. So are they, what do they want to put there?
So the applicant is here, and so I would let them speak on what their plans for the property is.
Okay. So once, if we rezone it, then that'll all be proper use?
So this use
wires
of
and things?
manufacturing would be consistent with industrial. Currently, it's not consistent with C-74. The only thing that they would be inconsistent with is the outdoor storage, but I think the applicant has plans to address that, and we'll work together after the rezoning to help.
And where are the, let me see that aerial. Where are the curb cuts on Sharon?
There aren't any.
I don't think
There aren't any. Oh, okay. The address is
See if there's a, I don't,
Sharon, okay.
yeah, I don't show the road in this, but I can pull up Google Images if you'd like to see it.
Across the street from my car guy, and that road literally just got repaved 3 months ago. The state did it. So there's no curb cuts, it's just blacktop and dead ends.
Okay, well,
It
that's what I
ends.
mean,
Just
the
a dead end.
entrance, not necessarily curb cuts, but.
Yeah, this is right at the dead end on Sharon Lane. This picture, I think, may have been taken in either, I think it was maybe December of last year.
All right, you want to bring the applicant up, Max?
Yeah, would you like to speak?
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Tom Crouch, and I'm here representing the Mose Group. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, to answer your question, is there any plans for any change in manufacturing or any, tell us the plans?
There's not at the moment. Right now, the tenant is just out of compliance, and so we want to do this rezone to bring them into compliance to keep the tenant. I mean, it's a great use. Everyone needs that data installed right now, so we really like having the tenant there, and so this is to bring the tenant into compliance.
So who owns it now? Moser owns it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any way you can get them to clean it up?
We can certainly try. We will, working with Max, if this is
Max,
approved,
right
to bring it into compliance and hopefully put some buffers up.
I was telling you, I call them thousands of manufacturing sites around the world, and that's an ugly one. So if they can clean it up, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions? All right.
Thank you for your time.
Coming out, sir. All righty, Max, you got anything else for us?
No, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, but no, I don't.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. All right, what's the, Stephen?
Is this officially considered to be part of that business park? Just out of curiosity. Okay, all right.
All right, any discussion among council? What's the pleasure of the council then?
I'll make a motion that we approve the general rezoning of RZ 23.12.01 from CZ 74 to industrial.
All right, motion by Mr. Shoal,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank y'all. Thank you, Max.
We have to do the statement of consistency.
Yes, ma'am. All right, the request is, the Moser Group is requesting a general rezoning from U.S. Commercial 74C-74 to industrial at 100 Sharon Lane. And so we have a statement of consistency and reasonableness, and I'll just read the 2 bullet points down at the bottom. This, we can enter this into the record, but this rezoning is consistent with adjacent properties, and this rezoning is consistent with the Monroe Expressway Small Area Plan. Can I get a motion to approve the statement of consistency and reasonableness?
So moved.
By Mr. Shoal,
Second.
second by Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, thank you. Next up is text amendment 24.01.01 with Stewart. There you are, already there. There we go. I'll open the public hearing.
Good evening, council.
Stewart.
Staff is recommending a text amendment TX 24.01.01. We are asking to amend Article 3 of our development ordinance. Article 3 is our definition ordinance, so you'll go through a list of quite a few definitions there to define terms that we regularly use in our ordinance. You'll see here, everything in black is what already exists in the ordinance. Everything in red is what we're asking to amend. Principal structure and primary structure are two terms that are used regularly in our ordinance, and we are using them interchangeably. However, we only have principal structure defined in Article 3 and not primary structure. So we've added primary structure as a definition, and then the last sentence of each term states it is interchangeable with the other term. We just wanted to add clarity to our ordinance. We've had some residents reading the ordinance and not quite understanding what principal is, what primary is, and how it applies to their scenario when they're trying to apply for an application for a permit or wondering what they can or can't do on their property. So we recommend approval for this. We do believe it will add clarity to the ordinance, and it'll allow staff to interpret the ordinance so that when we are in future, down the line, if Max or I aren't here, future staff can still make the same determinations we are.
Thank you. Any questions for Stuart?
Just have one little question.
Sure.
It says, structure or structures. So you can have more than one principal or primary structure?
So there are commercial lots. For example, there's one over here on Stallings Road. It just burnt down. It's the L-shaped white building. They have multiple tenants there, and then there's some other buildings on the site. So they're all different primary structures. They all serve the primary purpose of the parcel. So there are commercial entities that do have multiple primary structures, or in residential, you could have two apartment buildings on the same parcel. They both serve the primary purpose or the principal purpose on the parcel.
Questions? What's the pleasure of the council? Oh, I'll close the public hearing.
I move that we, is that the statement of consensus?
No.
Okay, no,
Text
I
amendment.
move that we grant that they can put this, whatever he says up there, the principal and primary. Oh, I'm sorry, TX 24.01.01.
All right. The motion is from Lori. I still can't pronounce your last name. I apologize yet, so I'll keep working on it. But to approve text amendment 24.01.01, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The statement of consistency and reasonableness to amend Article 3 of Stallings Development Ordinance. I'll read the three bullets down there at the bottom that summarizes it. This text amendment enhances clarity in the Stallings Development Ordinance, improving public understanding and staff application. Number 2, Article 1.11-1A, which stipulates that words not defined in this ordinance shall be given their ordinary and common meaning. And 3, this is the quickest, simplest, and most cost-effective way to create conformity between principal structure and primary structure in the development ordinance. Can I get a motion on the statement of consistency and reasonableness?
So moved.
To approve?
To approve, yeah.
All right. Motion by Mr. Ayers, second by Mr. Scholl. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank y'all. Thank you, Stuart. All righty. Marcia, our MVP. For the,
I try, that's all I can
for the last 6 months or 3 months.
Is nothing's pulled up, or it is, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, Emily, I gotta figure out. That's not a good thing. I had sent you the stuff to include in the packet. Yes. Okay, please do.
Yeah, so you just, I think,
Scroll down, okay,
Yeah,
never mind.
and
I've
then-
lost it totally.
no, it's okay. And then if you want to zoom in, just press this plus and minus.
Okay. This is Emily Mills, as some of you remember her from last year. She's going to talk to you and then
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Good evening. So my name is Emily Mills, and I'm a partner with Potter and Company. And I'm pleased to appear before you to present the town's annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. First, I want to thank you for allowing us to do the audit. We've done this for the town for several years now. And second, I also want to thank Marcia for all of her help in getting this completed. We issued an unmodified opinion on our independent auditor's report on the financial statements as of June 30th, 2023. An unmodified report is the highest level of assurance that we as independent auditors can issue, and it states that the town's financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the town at June 30th, 2023. This is commonly referred to as a clean opinion. In addition to the auditor's report, we have also issued a group of reports on the town's compliance. These reports are found in the compliance section, which is towards the back of your financial statements. They deal with the town's compliance with government auditing standards, in addition with the compliance with federal and state programs and various laws and regulations. We noted one program finding that we consider to be a significant deficiency relating to the Powell Bill program. Powell Bill funds were used on a non-qualified road, and the annual Powell Bill expenditure report was incorrect. We also had a financial statement finding, which we consider to be a material weakness. This was due to untimely reconciliations on cash, receivables, payables, and others. The financial statements were submitted to the LGC on January the 29th, 2024, and the LGC issued their review confirmation on February the 1st of 2024. So the LGC requires us to submit what's called a data input workbook. And one page of that data input workbook are these performance indicators. These are defined by the LGC, and they're benchmarks from the LGC. And as you can see here, the town is performing better than average of their peers. And there's several other benchmarks in here that, you know, if you had a negative fund balance on anything, that would cause a red flag. There weren't any kind of red flags like that. There are 3 red shaded cells, and those red shaded cells require a response from the town. That response is due 60 days from today's date. The first one is because the audit was late, and you just need to describe the reasons that the audit was late. And the other 2 are the 2 findings I just mentioned for the Powell Bill report and then the untimely reconciliations. And those responses will need to be signed by the manager, the finance officer, and a majority of the council.
Do we sign that tonight?
I think you have
I'd
a,
like to see what the response letter says. I think it should be next in the packet here. That was my memo. I was talking with Emily. Yeah, I know, that's an error there. There is supposed to be a 3, but that's not, it just did that because of the way this formatting was going. But there is supposed to be a 3. She mentioned the 3 that were red. I didn't realize that the late response required a response. I mean, the late submission required a response. So what I would like to do is revise this letter and bring it back to council next meeting for signature. It truly will be for the same reasons that Emily mentioned. I believe you got through that. In this letter that, you know, we had the untimely, it just took longer for the audit to take place due to the problems that we had. And that's basically what the number 3 is going to be. I could go back out and redo it right away, but we have 60 days.
you do.
from this night to actually submit it. So I'm gonna suggest that let me revise that and put number 3 in there, and we can send that to the LGC and just get everyone to sign it, or whoever's at the next meeting. It has to be a majority of the council, so
Okay.
we can assume that, I think the mayor has to sign it, and then, or the town manager.
Town manager,
Town
finance officer,
manager,
and
okay.
majority.
All right, so
Alrighty,
2 weeks.
Yes.
It's fine then, okay.
So, but I apologize for that. I didn't realize that we had to respond to that, and I didn't think I included it, and I did not, so at that point. Did you need to go back to this, Emily?
Questions?
So one question.
Sure.
For the Powell bill thing, is that something that we found as going through it, or did y'all find that?
We found it.
Really? So, I mean, so you guys are really combing this thing, because that seems like it would be something that would be really difficult to find if I'm looking at thinking through all the different things.
The Powell Bill program was a major program this year, so we actually did a single audit test on it.
Really?
And so that was why. So
Okay.
then we pulled selections for testing, and it happened to be one of those that we pulled for testing.
For the most part,
And it was a very, very small expenditure,
Yeah.
but,
I
it's,
think it was like $3,400.
I think so. I think it was
wasn't
like
very
3,000.
much.
It was what?
Like
$3,400, something
Okay,
like that.
yeah. And then we spend extra money on top of what we get from the Powell bill to do road repair. So the only real difference there would have been, that probably should have came out of the money that we put in there versus.
That's where it got reclassed to. When that happens, we make a reclass entry. But truly, it just went out of the Powell bill expenditure line.
All righty. Well, Emily, thank you for being here tonight. Any questions for her or Marcia or Alex? 'Cause I believe everybody talked to Alex today, and he gave me a thorough explanation of what's going on.
Thank you all for fixing and clearing up.
We certainly do appreciate it. Certainly do appreciate it.
So under our action, it says approve LGC letter and audit contract. We don't need to do that tonight
We'll put that.
on the next meeting? Okay, gotcha. All righty.
I do have, if you wanted to go through, thank you, Emily. I do have a few slides. If you want me to go through the financial statements, I can show you what happened to fund balance very quickly. And
Sure.
Okay. Pull that report up. Okay, let's go to Exhibit 5. Is there a go-to on a PDF? These 3 dots? Okay, that is easier. I need to go to page 21. I know the pages I needed. Thank you. I need. Okay. Exhibit 5, I'm going to stick with, this is talking general fund for this fiscal year. I'll show you a chart after this, but I do want to explain I know we sent the financials out to you, but these are the very important pages of it. All of them are important, but this one kind of shows you exactly what happened this fiscal year with revenues.
Can you blow it up a little bit?
Yes.
There you go, thank you.
Let's get a little smaller.
Here we go.
Okay. So if we're looking at expenditures, we had, or revenues, we had 10,937,000. And these include what are called, there are other funds within it. This is the P3 and this is ARPA fund. They are part of the general fund, considered part of the general fund. So usually you look at them as a whole. But if you're looking at the operations of the departments, it would just be in the general column. So altogether, we had 10.9 million in the funds combined, and 10.5 in revenues from general operations. And then when you're looking at expenditures, the departments actually spent 10.006, leaving in excess of $500,000, $500,000 went to fund balance because of savings within each of the departments. As a whole, in these departments, you can see that this was a reimbursement here in P3, so that was money we got in from the state. So as a whole, the general fund, when we're looking at general fund balance, the total grew almost $1 million. It's $927,651. So it was a very good year for us. And if you're looking at, you know, what our fund balance total is, now I'm talking about not unrestricted or this includes it all. It includes restricted, committed, uncommitted, you know, everything. The beginning balance was 16.7 million. And then we ended up with 17.6 million, which was, you know, there was an increase for this fiscal year. The next chart I want to go to is number 7.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, obviously, we're looking at a difficult budget year. I mean, if we put $500,000 away, where, I mean, was there a identifiable area where that big chunk came out of that?
I'll show you in a second.
Okay, all right.
Plus,
I can tell you which departments. and
Plus, I asked
things.
Alex that same question, so he knows the answer.
Okay.
Okay, so when we're looking at, this is actually the general fund, and it shows that, you know, each of those different categories. I need to get to Schedule 1, though. That's the one I would really want to get to. It's after the notes, sorry. It's easier to get down to the pages, 56. Okay. This one shows you what our budget is versus what we had actually. So if you're looking at tax revenue, we came ahead by 191,000. Licenses and things, we actually were below budget on revenue side. Unrestricted, this is mainly, if you look at this $300,000 here, this is what we were over on. It's mainly on that, the sales tax line, if you're looking at that. We had a little bit more on the utility tax as well. Each one of those line items were actually over budget for the revenue side. On restricted intergovernmental, we were a little closer on that number. That was 82,566 over what we had budgeted. Penalties and fines, we actually were well below that. The zoning fees are actually above that, I'm sorry. We went 76,000 above what we had budgeted, and mainly it's on the zoning fees there. And then the sales revenues, and that's actually rent that we got for the property next door, as well as investment income, which the majority of this stuff is actually investment income, the 371,000. So in essence, you know, in revenues, we budgeted 9.3 million, we got 10.5, so there was 1.2 million over what we thought we were gonna spend. Now, some of these changes, the budget includes the changes that we made throughout the year. So if we got funds in on, let's just say, some of the contributions that we got, and there was a related expense, that's a lot of, you know, we're gonna change that as we go. So we were really close on those things. As far as, you know, when you get money later in the year, we're able to kind of pinpoint it exactly what we're gonna spend, what we got and what we're gonna spend. But on these, obviously, it's, you know, it's harder to do that. And you wanna be conservative because of your balanced budget. You don't wanna overspend. You wanna make sure you're gonna get the revenues in that you're budgeting and not overspend and have to go into fund balance that year. So expenditure side, you can see we saved 162,000 on the general government side of things. That was a lot of it in operating expenditures and contracted services we saved. On this one here, public safety, some of that came out, the salaries and again, operating expenditures for them as well. That's almost $500,000 in that department savings. Transportation, there's 734,000 savings. In environmental protection, 27,000. So you can see year over, where we actually were under budget or over, in each of, we were actually under budget in all of them. In essence, over, revenues over expenditures, when we add them together, we ended up, it was 374,000. That's not the difference. Yes. Okay. Between the two. And here's that $500,000 savings that we were talking about in the revenues less expenses so it's savings. This is revenues over expenses within the general fund.
Okay. I'm a little confused because it looks like we saved like $2 million going back there into the expenditures.
Well, the net change in fund balance was this. Let's see. Variance, positive, negative. These are all positive. 5. Well, it's adding in this transfer, I believe. Let me see. Yes, it's adding in the transfer. So that's kind of where it's a little different. It pulls away from that balance and gives us the net change in fund balance there.
Where did?
Transfer is the ARPA funds?
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. Let's see. I can pull up the PowerPoint now, which shows you trend data for the 3. This really shows you year over year what we've done. If you're looking at ad valorem taxes, 4.2 million, 4.7 million, and then 4.9 in 2023. These other smaller ones I'm not going to go through. I do want to say that in this year here in the state restricted revenues, that was the ARPA inflow. That's why it jumped up to 7.2 because 5.145 was ARPA. Also 1.6 million we got as a North Carolina SCIF grant that we used ultimately to purchase next door. And taking out that inflow there, if you look at our revenues, they've been really consistent. It's like with a steady growth, 9.4, that jumps up, but if we take away almost $7 million, it's 6.7 million, we would have been in the 9 million range again, and then we're at 10.9. So there's very nice steady growth. The bars down here, the red, you can see where the revenue is coming from in each year. Consistently, it has been in this ad valorem, in the tax area, year over year, and in this blue area, which is it says state unrestricted, but those are funds like the sales and use tax and, where you're getting money from the state and they're not giving you any stipulations. Powell bill would be in the purple there. It would be state restricted. And that money that we got from ARPA and other things, that would be in state restricted. That again, that's why you see that jump in that 2022 year. Any questions on revenues?
Yeah, how did our investment income skyrocket? And what is that?
That's from North Carolina Trust. We weren't getting hardly anything in the years past. That's truly, we've had a lot of money invested with them for a while. And truly for years, it wasn't, just really wasn't moving the needle hardly at all. And then this year, it's, it just, last fiscal year, it was a huge year for us. As far as, we had the ARPA funds from the prior, that we got in, that's $5 million that we didn't have before, that sat in an investment account until we used it. So, $5 million at, several percentage points. I think it's 3.8%.
That's right.
Are we restricted as to where we can keep our investment funds?
We are.
That's, we don't have the option of moving it. We take
You
what
can, but it's, I mean, they really, I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough to pick it's a very safe choice for a finance officer or counsel to choose to invest in the trust. Most towns do invest in the North Carolina Trust Government Fund. It's just, it's a safe fund. You don't want to lose your money, obviously. And because it is tax dollars, it's been, you know, it's been around for years and years. And I just felt that it was, you know, more important to make sure that those funds were not going to go down. But also, you could take a riskier move. We did go into the, they had another term fund, the trust did. I switched it, I think it was in +22 when I was here, switched some of the funds out of the government fund into the term fund. It's still with the trust, and it did create more revenue for us. Plus, if you look at, I've got a thing on fund balance at the end here that shows you the fund balance and where, you know, how much was there that we could actually invest each year. So, any other questions?
For municipalities, is there something similar to a CD or a FDIC, and more like the FDIC, where it's guaranteed up to a certain dollar amount? Is there such a thing for
I'm
large
sure there
dollars
is. I don't. I'm
that we're
just
allowed to
unaware
use?
of it.
I'm just,
Or could we buy treasuries? I mean, it's risk-free.
Can. Usually what you will do as a council, I mean, normally a town will create what they call an investment policy. And that will give the finance officer guidance as far as what the town's risk tolerance is and where they would like their funds to be invested. I had never approached the council about that, but that would be something that you could look into putting in place. I think the person coming in here will have that knowledge to do that too. You know, I think that that's something that I would probably look at because our fund balance is getting to a point where it's a sizable amount. And that would be something I would definitely think about doing.
Well, we used to have a finance committee years ago that did this kind of thing. We had some guys that had expertise that we obviously have on the council now that, you know, could look at these types of things with the finance officer and with the town manager and make some financial decisions. So when the new guy comes on, or new lady comes on board, I recommend that, Alex, you approach Brad and Graham, get their expertise on. Graham and Brad are okay with that? If it goes down, we won't tar and feather you, but we'll certainly make the effort. Because I know nothing about treasuries, bonds, and things like that, so.
It's a 4.3 yield right now, so.
we get
3
I
points.
want to say,
We've been over 5.
yeah, it's been up to that point. I'm not sure. I did put that in the last report that I did for the, in the budget meeting.
So the
I
trust
know that
fund's
that was a
over 5?
question that was asked.
Yeah, when we looked at, it came up in the context of whether we wanted to pay off this building. And what we found was our interest rate was 3.45%. And our interest rates that we were obtaining
Higher than that.
were above 5%,
Right,
ranging, I
so-
think, between 5 and 5.5, somewhere in there, so.
Maybe it was 5.8. I said 3.8. I think it might have been the 5.8 then.
thank you.
All right.
Tar and feather, man, you're reaching out there. I
Yeah.
haven't heard that term in years.
Hardball.
We're bringing that back, chief.
All right. These are the expense sides of things. You can see the departments that have the bigger expenses here. We have it's really public transportation, public safety is the dark green, and then the orange there is actually general government. And what happened in this year is we purchased the James River building. So there's quite a jump in that. So you can see that that's the only reason this thing really went the way that it did, if you're looking at general fund expenses, or general government expenses. But these are year-over-year growth in those areas. A lot of this, you see some jumps in it here and there, but last year, the reason this is like that, it actually got pushed to the following year for the expenditures. And then cultural and recreation, you can see the parks jumping up. But, you know, you can see year over year, they consistently, you know, PD has a pretty big chunk of it out of year over year stuff. And since council has made the commitment to the transportation department, the lime green, you can see those differences there.
Environmental protection?
That is actually sanitation. But on our financial statements, it says environmental protection. We need to rename some of these departments, yeah. Any questions
Like we
here?
had an EPA.
There's not huge, expense growth. If you're looking year over year, it's like 8.5, 9.2, 10.0. So it's not huge year over year when you're looking at it. And then there's fund balance, and this is the one that I really wanted you to see. It was the assigned portion of this, about 2 million, about this number right here, 2,149,000. That's really a percentage of your expenditures to spend for the following year. They want you to put that in a restricted fund or assigned. It's assigned to the next fiscal year to pay a percentage of your budgeted expenses. Just in case you don't make your budget, I'm assuming, in revenue. The restricted funds, you can see it jumped up here. This is going to be your ARPA funds and, you know, anything that has a POW bill or something like that, that would be in restricted. Our unassigned fund balance, you can see that it's actually really growing for us here. We were able to transfer some of the ARPA funds into this area here. It went down and kind of went in this bucket, plus we grew it. And there were some other things. We used up our fees in lieu, so that would have been a restricted fund before. So a lot of funds kind of, as you spend those restricted monies, it kind of bottoms out, it falls into the unassigned area. And then the committed funds, you can see they're kind of going down as well. And those are more or less just, I can tell you what committed funds are. I might have said that wrong. It's probably the fees in lieu are in committed, not restricted. That's governmental restricted. So that would be more or less anything you got from the government that's restricted. And committed would be your fees in lieu, things like that, where we've committed those funds for the following year. But at the end of the year, we have 17.67 million in fund balance, in total fund balance. And the thing I'd like you to focus on is this number here. It really grew, so it's actually a good number for the town. Let's see, I think that's all I have, unless there's any other questions.
So this presentation, you'll send it out?
I can send it out
You
to
can send this now?
I
didn't know if you wanted to wait until all the,
I can send it all out tomorrow. I'll do
Okay.
that, because I'm in the office tomorrow. so.
all right. Excuse me. Thank you, Marcia. Any questions for Marcia or Alex? All right, well, again, I'll echo what everybody else has already said. We just can't thank you enough for jumping in here and taking
No
care of it.
problem whatsoever. Thank you
Take
for
care of
giving me
it.
the opportunity again. I didn't think I'd be back.
Well, it's not over yet, right? All righty. Next up is number 6, the Community Committee Application Consideration, Mr. Ernie Roy. And everybody did have a chance to see his application. And Aaron tells me he's excited. He's attended some meetings already. So we do have one consideration. We can appoint him through 2025, March of 2025. So I mean about a year's term, or we can appoint him through March of 2026. My recommendation is to get him while we can and do it through 2026.
Concur.
So, any discussion? Can I get a motion from someone?
I'll make a motion to approve the application of Mr. Roy to the Community Committee through a term ending in, what was that, 3 of 25?
Through 26.
3 of 26.
All right, motion by Mr. Shoal.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, thank you all. All right, Chestnut Turn Lane. I just asked Alex to put it together, or whoever, just give me a quick summary of what's going on, since this is a big project and it happened so long ago when we talked to DOT. I think it was, what, 2022? Yeah. I've told you many times, I can't remember what happened yesterday unless I write it down, so.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever it tells me, that's right. So appreciate it, Kevin.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so I'm going to give a summary. I've asked Mr. Parker to come up and help provide technical expertise as well as working the monitor here so we can see it visually. There's a subdivision that was obviously approved by the town several years back, and it's located beside an NCDOT road, that's Chestnut Lane. And the original NCDOT approved plan called for a left turn lane. If you don't mind zooming in, a left turn lane both in and I believe out of there. You'll see that's not there now. And we'll talk about why that is in a minute. So oftentimes when transportation improvements are required by DOT or a local government, and sometimes, most of the time, at least for us, it's DOT, because state roadways are so prevalent when it comes to thoroughfares within our town. The transportation improvement takes up more space than the property that's being developed. So for example, even though the property is being developed, there's additional property that needs to be acquired to add in more space so you can put in something like a turn lane. Now, a common problem that local governments face, and state government faces too, is when the developer who's required to put in the transportation improvement is negotiating with a private property owner to get the right of way. And what often happens is the developer makes what's known as reasonable effort, I believe is the term. And if they do that and the developer or the property owner says, no, I'm not going to sell you unless you meet my unreasonable demands. So the developer has to document all that, and then the DOT will say, well, you made reasonable effort, but the private property owner you're trying to acquire the property from is being unreasonable, right? I'll use a silly, exaggerated example. Let's say you need to acquire 10 feet of my property to put in a turn lane, and I say, that'll be great, that'll be $100 million, right? I'm being unreasonable. And there's a variety of ways they kind of determine this, appraisals, things like that. So what causes issues often is that government, local government, state government, my understanding is not allowed to condemn property for the developer, even though the developer is going to build improvements that will be public roadway improvements. That's still not allowed because the developer initially is going to be doing that. Now, there's a lot of thought on whether that's a good idea, whether it's not, but it creates a issue like the one we've seen now, where the developer has been deemed by DOT to be given reasonable effort to acquire the property. They were unable to, and so there has to be remediation measures for safety. Now, there's a line of sight issue here that would not allow, per DOT, a safe turn. And because of that, they put in a median to prevent people from turning left here. because they deemed it a safety issue.
In,
So
in and out, left turn in and out?
that's the way it appears, yes, ma'am. Yeah. So,
You could turn right out and you have to come right in.
Right,
Right.
yeah,
No left turn.
that's what I meant.
which is an issue, right? It seems silly in some sense. And so when this was all happening, staff got involved. We tried to facilitate between the private property owner and the developer. It was in everybody's best interest to see if we could get the parties to agree on a price and sell the property and bring the turn lane. So we wouldn't have this, the right in, right all. Yes, sir.
So just in this picture, the property that had an issue of acquiring would be kind of north of the white car that's been on there? Is that what I'm, it's on that side of the
I
road?
believe it was on the south, right beside there, right where Kevin's moving his mouse there.
Okay, so now I'm confused. So, but anyway, go ahead, I won't.
Because across the street's not Stallings, right?
Correct. That's Indian Trail. Well, I take that back. Indian Trail and looks like some unincorporated as well.
Flood zone.
So staff tried to get involved. We tried to strongly encourage the property owner and the developer to come to some sort of conclusion to try to get that property so where that transportation, but the property still could not agree on a number that was deemed reasonable. And so DOT allowed the developer to not have to put that turn lane in and made them put in the median in the middle that would allow only right in and right out from a turn lane. So there's some other details that I admitted, not purposefully, but just to give you a general summary and not to take up a lot of time. There's some challenges with a water line. I'd say those are the big items. Mr. Parker, anything I left out that you think would be helpful for the board in understanding the situation?
I don't believe so.
Well, when I was reading the summary, the reason I got confused was it sounded like the town was on the hook for some money. Are we? No, okay.
No, I'll speak to that. This is in District 6 down on the end of town where I live. So the neighbors there are not happy about the circuitous route they have to move. What will happen is you exit the neighborhood, and if you want to go what would be south to grocery store or whatever, they exit, go to the next neighborhood and make a U-turn, essentially in the middle of the road, and then they do the same thing going up. Or they would say they illegally make an illegal movement. It's an unsafe situation because it encourages bad behavior, I'd say. Not an excuse for them, but it's just a bad traffic design. I'd like to go back and figure out if we couldn't, is there a process step along the way that could have been made by the town before approval? It feels like that needs to be fixed, but that's a later conversation. The other thing I'd add is across the road, the big green parcel was recently annexed into Indian Trail. That big green parcel right there for a new neighborhood that is currently under development and design. They will be faced with the same problem. It's not enough traffic to put a signal, not enough right-of-way to put a turn lane, which really should be there. So you're going to have another nuisance-type neighborhood problem across the street. So the only suggestion you might have seen, Mayor, was my concern is when that neighborhood is fully built out and developed, everybody walks away and we're all done, and we've got traffic accidents because people are behaving badly, making wrong turns, just trying to get ahead. It's a convenient nuisance. I've asked staff to begin to talk to Indian Trail as they develop that project across the street. Is there a way to revisit this idea of purchasing some land from that property owner again? Might have been some confusion about what he asked for, what he wanted, what the price is. his land is largely undevelopable. If you pull up a flood map.
Yeah, it's in the floodplain.
It's awful.
We went through this years ago. Aaron might remember it.
Yeah.
But Indian Trail came to us, wanting us to help them fix the flood problem, so I'm very familiar with
So
that.
that was my thinking. Could the two towns and two developers work together to buy that parcel or enough of that land to make that turn lane happen during the construction of that neighborhood over there? That's the only request I had, so.
So where's the entrance on this map? I guess, Kevin, the entrance for the parcel that we're talking about, the Chestnut Lane parcel, and where is the Indian Trail? I see the parcel on in Indian Trail, but where is their entrance and exit plan?
It will be exactly across the street.
It would be, okay.
It would line up, which obviously makes sense if you had a turn lane or light, but right now it's just kind of odd and arbitrary.
Well, at that point, with that, that's gonna be a large neighborhood, I would imagine.
50 homes.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah.
But still, it's 100 cars. Could we go back to DOT and, reconfigure the road and traffic patterns change, they pat themselves on the back for safety. And as Brad said, this is a bad situation, so.
They do a rotary or roundabout?
We would spend the money, we'd have to spend the money there, and it's not enough traffic really for that, I don't think. So the easiest fix is to, again, back to that property owner, see if they can acquire some or all of his land with, and the other aspect is it's a stormwater retention area. It should never be developed with any structures because it would make flooding worse. So you could make an argument, and I'm not doing so, by the way, you could make an argument that stormwater funds from two towns and two developers could easily buy that property and fix the problem, but I don't want.
All right, so the action item is staff to talk with Indian Trail.
At the last meeting, that was the action item, is staff to engage their staff. I think they did that, and now I think the next action was for elected officials, talk to their elected officials. I haven't done that about the issue.
Okay.
I'm still a little confused on, I mean, the turn lanes would be at the end of this, I mean, like, if you zoom in just one more time.
Go back to that other picture. There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, the turn lane would be, one would be roughly where the white car is, because it's gonna turn into, I can't read that, it starts with an H.
Headwaters.
Headwaters Street or Court. So I guess I'm confused at why they would need the land up
Over there.
up there. I mean, just in two sentences, kind of explain why that land would be needed all the way up that way.
In short, it's the tapers that you need to transition the road back into, from a 3-lane section into a 2-lane section.
So, I mean, again, though, just Indian Trail's about to develop the parcel across the road. Why couldn't you carry that over into the parcel across the street?
Well, there's a property owner that's not participating in that development. If you go back to the property ownership map. Again, the taper issue comes into play because that piece at the very top of the screen.
The one that's not colored?
Yeah, you would need part of his land. And then that's where the Union County water line apparently is, that they don't want to pave over on that side of the road.
Gotcha, okay.
Gotta kind of take it from the south side.
Okay, gotcha. I was just curious, because, I mean, if you're just looking at this, it almost makes sense to take it from the parcel to the north versus that parcel, so, okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It was a large project and complex, so. Any other questions for Alex or Kevin? All right, thank you. All right, next up is Alex with the balanced scorecard mid-year report. So I'll turn it over to Alex.
All right, thank you. And let me do this in your favorite presenting time slot, the last before adjournment. So when it comes to the balanced scorecard,
when it comes to local government, we've got a lot of moving parts, right? A lot of people. You have the town council, staff, committees, a variety of involved folks, residents, businesses, nonprofits, local government, state government, federal government. And in a way, you've got all these people giving their input. It can get pretty messy. And in a way, that's a good thing, right? Because you want everybody to come to the table, give input. But at the same time, it can make it challenging to get things done and operate strategically and proactively move forward. And what the balanced scorecard tries to do is to set goals, both at a high level by the council, both at a management level and on the front line and department level. And then it serves as a communication device, a strategic planning device, and kind of a report card, if you will. So there's several components of it. One is kind of a policy and a written, and then the other one is a variety of measures. I'm not going to go over all the measures, because when I've done it in the past, I feel like maybe this setting isn't the appropriate way. So I wanted to talk more about the stories of each department and the narratives. And we can go and talk about any of the specific measures, if that'd be helpful.
Stories of each, so we're supposed to give you credit for using manager terms, right? That's the only place I've ever heard it.
So accomplishments, when it comes to that, these are the things that we're doing well, that they've worked out for whatever reason. So we've done a good job strengthening citizen engagement. That was a past council priority that was very important. Ms. Nichols has been doing a great job with the blog post. We've been broadcasting all our town council meetings. We've been trying to engage and get the word out on what we're doing. We've implemented an economic development plan. This is both an accomplishment and a challenge. The county sewer situation has created some barriers that we've had to work around, so we've had to rejigger our approach with the county's economic development group. We've done a variety of downtown creation, or town center now, creation opportunities, kind of working towards those. We're pursuing the sewer capacity alternatives, and we've done a mock scenario. There's a variety of things that we've done well. And when it comes to challenges, we had a couple recordable injuries with the police department. We try to set our goal every year at 0. We refuse to have a goal less than 0. We don't want to have any workplace injuries. But that can be a challenge, especially with police, in pursuit of suspects, things like that. So whenever there is an injury, the town has a process and an internal committee where we evaluate the incident, determine what happened, and what can be done differently to improve things.
Are those like personal injuries or like injuries to other people, or, I mean, or injury to?
Those would be injuries to employees.
Employees, okay.
Yeah, think like workman's comp. Also, maintaining a skilled workforce. This is both a accomplishment and a challenge. And in a sense, it'll always be a challenge, right? We missed our turnover numbers, but that can be okay in some cases. And I think we're seeing on the department head level excellent retention, which is the most important area, in my opinion. Making sure you've got important department head leadership at that level. We've talked at length about the challenges with police and turnover, and the council really stepped up and helped us out there. And I think we're going to see better numbers this next year. And sometimes you don't want to have 0 turnover. Sometimes if there's an issue, it needs to be resolved when it comes to personnel. So if you see consistent turnover numbers that are too low, that can be an issue, or you're not holding people accountable. So that is the big things I'd say with administration. Moving on to engineering, I think one of the big thing, and credit to Mr. Parker, Mr. Russell and his team, I feel like we're getting much more organized and strategic in the way we approach our engineering services. We've really done a lot of stormwater repairs. We're making headway on a lot of street resurfacing projects, street maintenance projects, things like that. We've worked on beautification in several different areas. And I feel very optimistic about where they're heading, both internally and the service they're providing. The challenges, obviously, one of the things we had several years ago was the MS4 permit. And that's the stormwater permit that several years ago we had some violations on, and we've worked very hard to get back into compliance. But for a town our size, it's a very complex permit to maintain, and so there'll be a learning curve as we go through and make sure we stay in compliance. So those are the big things, I'd say. Finance department, I think the biggest challenge, one of the biggest accomplishments was getting Ms. Gross to come back and help. We are so thin within the finance department, we're one deep, and largely one deep. And so that is something that we probably need to look at moving forward, because we need to make sure if we lose a finance officer in the future, there's some backups and redundancies. And we can do that on a non-technical level, a non-accounting level. But with a staff our size, it can be challenging to just have somebody who has backup accounting knowledge, for example. So obviously the staffing challenges that we have, it created a number of cascading issues, including delaying audit completion. But we feel like we're moving forward and have working towards resolving those issues. Parks, Miss Donnelly's doing a great job providing much more energy and strategic direction to the parks. There are a variety of accomplishments and successes. Stallings Greenway construction, we're nearing completion of that. So that's good news. That was the first time. We've had Greenway legs built, but it's been developers in the past. So this is the first one that we've done. And we're hoping this spring to have a grand opening to celebrate that with the community. Also, one of the things that I've tasked the Parks Department with doing is figuring out a way to recover a lot more of our costs. And they've taken that and run with it with getting sponsorships as one example. We want to make sure that our new playground builds are safe. Our entire maintenance team got certifications to inspect playgrounds and make sure those are safe, which is, it sounds like not a big deal, but that's a very intense process to get that certification. People fail that test all the time, and I'm proud of our team for getting that. We've gotten more cohesive in the hours we've done, developing our professionals, and I'd say one of the biggest things is having more consistency out of our splash pad, not having it down constantly. And again, that goes back to a lot of the internal training and the leadership. In the past, we've had it down constantly and sporadically, as well as the council being willing to invest in maintenance staff, as well as some improvements for the splash pad. Challenges, we've struggled with, we're trying to get a park bench tree initiative program off the ground, community feedback collection events. Just with staff sizing, it's been difficult to run the event and then also get statistically valid feedback, right? And one of the goals we have and we'd like to work towards is getting a standard operation manual. Again, one of the things you'll probably see across departments is we're trying to become more resilient operationally. We're in probably, when it comes to growing up like a town, we were rural, transitioning to a higher population, and there can be some awkwardness, right, as we grow into what we will be, and trying to right size and get the economies of scale. You want to have enough folks to where you're providing operations seamlessly, but you don't want to have too much to where you're spending more money than you need to. And so one of the things we've talked about is having standard operating manuals so that if a staff member leaves, we can continue on and somebody can know, oh, this is how our policies and procedures are. And always we want to kind of try to step our recruitment of volunteer efforts. Planning department, under Mr. Shong's leadership, they've done a great job. There's a variety of things they've worked on. Max and his team are really good, really focused on giving high customer service. A lot of times you'll hear a lot of complaints when it comes to planners just because they're generally dealing with people that want something that they can't give them because they've got to follow the rules. They've got to tell people bad news. They've got to do code enforcement, and they do a great job with giving great customer service in a challenging environment. And the downtown streetscape, we are moving forward to getting that plan hopefully done. And hopefully in the next month, we'll be bringing you a plan that you can actually build in and put into the development ordinance. So that if a developer comes in our, town center area, then there'll be a requirement that they'll have to build that. What are some of the challenges? Well, we had some staff turnover, and it worked out being positive turnover because we were able to get Stuart, we were able to get Matt Dillard, and I feel really positive about, even though we had some turnover, we're really in a good direction staff-wise moving forward. Planning board and board of adjustment membership, we've had openings there, so if you know anybody that might be interested in planning board or board of adjustment, please, please, please send us their way. We want them engaged, and we want an active membership, and we want to get those positions filled.
Are we at level now, or where are we at?
I believe we've still got several openings, Max.
Yeah, we have one full-time.
So please, 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 if you know anybody that might be a good fit, that's, especially if folks are interested in development, that can be a really, really interesting and rewarding committee, or board, I should say, for the right person.
Both of those are paid positions? I mean, if you're an alternate versus a full?
I believe it's $50 a meeting. 15?
No.
No, it's 50.
50.
Yeah.
And that's for alternates, even if they're not full-time,
If they go to the meeting.
if they go to the meeting.
Yeah, you got to show up. And then we had a delay with the streetscape fee in lieu of implementation. And that was a good delay. I think it allowed us, the board asked some good questions. It allowed us to consult with our legal counsel and work through some issues so it doesn't bite us on the back end. Police department, I just want to say how excited I am. Our police department is very, very close to getting accredited by CALEA. This is a multi-year process, 3, 4, 5 years, Dennis? It's been years in the making. I'm really proud. When we get there, I want to have a big party for our police officers to celebrate all the work they put into it. It allows us to say we meet the, I think as Chief describes it, the gold standard of policing from a policy, from an implementation, from an operational standpoint. We are following the best practices. And not only do we have to say we do it, not only do we say we do it in a policy book, we have to prove that we do it. So we were able to do a variety of community policing events. You can see those there. Create a technology strategic plan. We're on the way to doing that, I should say. We've increased our firearms proficiency. We want to continue to do that. And Chief, has provided great leadership in reviewing, getting all his officers involved in updating our vision, mission statements, core values, things like that for the police department. There's some things that are challenges, things to work on. We were great on the enforcement side. We need to bump up our education when it comes to driving impaired. We weren't able to create that bicycle patrol unit, motor unit, and we want to kind of continue creating a community volunteer program. That could be really cool if it's done right. And so that's it. I hope I was kind of giving you the narratives and the stories of each department. Was that more helpful than going through the Excel spreadsheet in the past?
fine by me.
Okay,
Hey, the one question I had was on the occupancy tax.
Sure.
The resolution you're bringing us in March,
yes, sir, I believe so.
are you drafting
Or
that?
is March or April? Is that right? So the occupancy tax, we got that passed. In order to get it on the ballot, we have to pass a resolution.
Prior to
And-
August 1st.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Do we have
Okay.
to put in the resolution, do we have to put the percentage that we're gonna charge? Or does the state have some guidelines on that, or how does that work? All right.
You put the language that is going to be on the ballot, and the state statute that passed already has that specific language in there. And I believe it's at 5%.
5%, good, all right.
Ms. Cox has already provided a sample that she's used before, and we should be able to take that and have that to y'all around March, is that right?
The other towns that were included on that, in Union County at least, have to also pass their resolution for it to go on? Or can we, if, say, just for example, we pass ours, Indian Trail does not, it could still, ours can still go on, correct?
That's my understanding, yes, sir. I don't think they're contingent on going together. I think it's part of the same bill, right, but,
That's why I was asking,
Yeah.
I was talking to them about it, and
oh, okay,
they're a little more mixed about it.
are they? Okay.
Really? Yeah, they'll take that liquor money, but they don't want that hotel. Sorry.
Well, again, if there are no other questions, I appreciate the time. I know it's late going last, and I
Yeah.
appreciate y'all asking great
Any
questions.
questions yet for Alex? Appreciate your work on this.
Yes, sir. It's all the staff work
Have a
very
good
hard,
team.
so
Yeah.
I'm just the one that gets the credit sometimes.
Okay,
Thank you.
all righty. Yeah, you got something? Oh, him?
Yeah, Michael,
Yes, sir. I was
I'd
wondering.
like to introduce you. You are the Inquirer Journal reporter now, right?
Want me to come up here?
Sure. Yeah, I was wondering who you were, but.
Michael's a
Yes.
Porter Ridge graduate.
Yeah, do you get that too?
Yeah, Mr. Union County.
Well,
Porter Ridge can claim him.
certainly it is an honor to stand before you, council, tonight. Thank you, Mr. Scholl, for pointing me out. I was actually here to do a job for the Inquirer Journal, but I appreciate the recognition, and I'm humbled to receive it from you, Mayor Pro Tem Scholl. So,
You never did come out to see the golf team. You went to see every other sport, but not the golf team.
well,
You missed some mighty good golf.
okay.
Anyhow, I'm gonna remember that
Well,
for a while, and I'm glad you're out and doing municipal reporting, because it's sorely lacking in Union County, and if you're gonna continue getting us and the others, thank you.
well, I will say this. As long as I'm making the effort to know what's going on in each municipality, I'm really doing my job as Mr. Union County. But I'm not here for me. I'm here to ask y'all the most interesting thing that is discovered tonight. Because I want to get the news out. It is my job to get the news out, and I'm not backing down on the job. So I'm just trying to get a good idea, because, you know, Mr. Richardson, I know that you pointed out that Chestnut Lane would probably present some confusion here. So I'm not sure what Chestnut Lane has something to do with, of course, with the fact that it could present problems like traffic accidents, wrong turns. What is this new neighborhood anything to do with Chestnut Lane? That's probably what I'm asking tonight.
That may be pretty lengthy for us to do tonight, but we'd love to have you back, or even talk to our staff about and get more detail before you publish anything. That'd be awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate the recognition. And thank you, Mayor Dunn.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
Coming out.
Yes, sir.
One other thing, HM Hospital had their second anniversary, and they invited me the day of the celebration, but I was out of town, go figure. But Alex was able to go. Was anybody else? I don't know if anybody else got an invitation, but it was last minute. But Alex was there, and so 2-year anniversary, and so they're fixing to expand. They just submitted that, or David reported that just submitted their certificate of need, so they're going to expand to, how many beds is it? 200, yeah, so 50 to 200, so. All righty, anybody else have anything they want to comment?
Well, since we're adding that, I was, at Central Ina, I was voted the vice chair of the executive committee for this, coming year, so.
For what?
Central Ina.
Oh, the COG?
Yeah,
Oh.
well, that's what we call ourselves now, Central Ina,
All
but
right.
it is the COG, so.
All right, well, congratulations. Thank you for serving.
Wait, what is that? Central Line, what is?
Central Ina Council of Government, Council of Governments is Central Ina now. The organization that covers the regional governance.
Okay.
All righty, well, thank you all for coming out tonight, and can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Scholl, second by Mr. Ayers, all in favor? Aye. Ayes have it, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Before I forget, that's why I wrote that
I saw
note.
that. I'm so glad you told me that. I literally wrote